They shoved her face first onto the deck. Wrists snapped in cold metal, as if she were some criminal breaking into a war zone. Cameras caught it all. The screaming, the boots, the woman's confused tears. A simple trespasser, they said. Barefoot, drenched, and muttering nonsense about the Truman like it was personal. But then the Admiral came. One glance at her face, and everything stopped. His skin went pale. His voice cracked, and in front of the entire fleet, he gave an order no one could believe, not even her, because what no one knew was this: the woman they just arrested built this ship, and she was never supposed to come back. Rain hammered the deck of the USS Truman like a war drum, relentless and cold. Petty Officer Callahan spotted her first, a barefoot woman stumbling across the bow, soaked to the bone, hair plastered to her face, arms wrapped tightly around herself like she was holding in a secret. Got a civilian on deck, he barked into his radio, already sprinting. Within seconds, the crew descended for MPs in black rain gear, boots slamming metal. She didn't run. She just turned slowly, as if in a daze. Eyes unfocused but locked on the ship's command tower like it meant something to her. Hands up, on your knees, one of the MPs shouted. She didn't flinch, didn't speak, just slowly dropped to her knees, like she wasn't being arrested, like she was praying. The MPs moved in fast. One grabbed her wrists and yanked them back, cuffing her with a sharp click. Another shoved her shoulder. Name undemanded. Truman, she murmured. What? He snapped. Truman. She's mine. That was enough. They dragged her below deck, water trailing behind her like a wound dot in the brig. She sat silent. No ID, no phone. Just a soaked white tank top clinging to her skin, dirt on her face, eyes blank, and staring at a rusted spot on the wall. The duty officer, Lieutenant Brooks, reviewed the footage. No one saw how she got aboard. No, sir, Callahan said. We checked every camera. She's just there. Brooks leaned forward, squinting at the freeze frame. She's barefoot in a restricted Navy harbor. No breach alarms. No signs of forced entry. So how the hell did she get here? Callahan didn't answer. No one did. The woman spoke only once during intake. When a young seaman asked her name, she looked him dead in the eye and said, I told you, she's mine. Confused. The seaman had written, asterisk, possibly delusional, claimed USS Truman belongs to her. Asterisk, Rear Admiral Marcus Raines was mid-briefing when the call came through. He was irritated. He had 3 admirals breathing down his neck about deployment schedules and weapons audits. He didn't have time for another unauthorized civilian. But the officer on the line sounded shaken. Double quotes, sir. I really think you should come down. Why? It's a trespassing charge. Sir, just come. Raines sighed and slammed the folder shut. 20 minutes later, he stood outside the brig, the metallic taste of stress already building on his tongue. 2 MPs opened the door. She was sitting in the corner, still drenched, still silent. But when she looked up, Raines froze. His body locked, like his bones forgot how to move. His lips parted, but no sound came because he knew that face, older, worn, but unmistakable. Admiral, she said quietly, it's been a while. Silence gripped the room. No one breathed. Raines finally stepped forward. Uncuff her, sir. An MP asked. Uncertain, I said. Uncuff her. The cuffs fell away with another click, and she rubbed her wrists, red with bruises. Raines didn't sit, didn't speak right away. He just stared. I thought you were dead, he finally said. She gave a half laugh that was more like a cough. Yeah, that was the plan, wasn't it? A second silence heavier than the first? I didn't know, he said. Bullshit. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. It cut like wire. Raines glanced back at the MPs. Everyone out. Now, the room emptied in seconds. Only she and Raines remained. Why are you here? He asked. She leaned back against the wall, closed her eyes. Same reason I built her. You didn't build this ship. Her eyes snapped open. I was this ship. Every line of code in the AI targeting, every pressure modulation curve, every emergency submersion protocol. My name was in the engine core for 12 years. Until you scrubbed it. You were unstable. I was right about the design flaw, about the coolant bypass that cost those sailors their lives. And instead of fixing it, you buried me. Raines's fists clenched at his sides. She stood slowly. Rainwater dripped from her clothes onto the brig floor. She stepped forward. You let them call it a meltdown. You let them say it was my fault. But you knew. And now she's out there. This ship, my legacy. Floating like a ghost with a new name. He couldn't look at her. You shouldn't have come back, he whispered. She gave him a look that made his spine stiffen. I didn't come back. I rose for a moment. The only sound was the distant hum of turbines through steel. Then the door burst open. An ensign, out of breath. Admiral, sir, we have a situation. Internal systems are behaving, oddly. What kind of oddly? Fire control ran a full self-diagnostic without orders. Navigation locked for override and the AI. It's speaking. Raines paled. What do you mean? It's speaking. The ensign looked terrified. It said, Kutheriosin, Dr. Eleonora Graves. Commandery engaged. Raines turned to her slowly. Eleonora didn't smile, didn't blink. You think I came aboard? She said, but I never left. The bridge was in chaos. Officers scrambled between stations, voices tight with panic. Radar feeds blinked erratically, targeting systems flickered in and out, and the main console displayed a line of code pulsing like a heartbeat. *** Command Authority. Dr. E. Graves. Active. ***. The Admiral stormed onto the deck. Eleonora just behind him. Wrapped in a dry gray blanket someone had thrown over her shoulders. Eyes turned. Every officer froze mid-action as they watched the barefoot woman walk past them like a specter reborn. Who authorized this override? Raines demanded. But no one answered. They all stared at her. It's me, she said simply. I designed the control failsafe 5 backdoors. Only one was buried so deep, no one even knew it was there. You're bluffing. Eleonora turned to him, and for the first time her expression wasn't bitter. It was calm, cold. Then, shut me out. Raines hesitated. Do it, she said again. Try. He gave the order to his XO, who typed furiously at the terminal, but every command was met with the same reply. Access denied, route priority, active. Eleonora stepped forward, staring at the glowing interface. It remembers me, she said softly, almost to herself. Even if you tried to erase me, the ship never forgot. The room stayed frozen, suspended in disbelief. Raines turned to the comms officer. Shut everything down. Wipe the drives if you have to. Eleonora turned slowly. If you so much as pulse the reset protocol, I'll trigger the safeties. She'll think she's under attack and go full lockdown. I wrote the rules of this game, Marcus. You just inherited them. For the first time in his long, iron-tight career, Rear Admiral Raines looked helpless. 2 hours earlier, on the civilian shore outside Norfolk, a woman in a faded raincoat had stood at the edge of the water, staring at the massive silhouette of the Truman in the harbor. She'd walked into the sea with no hesitation, like the cold meant nothing, and as the waves crashed around her, something stirred in her mind, a rhythm, a code. She had followed it like a beacon, like it was calling her home. 15 years ago, Eleonora Graves had been the Navy's crown jewel and engineering prodigy, recruited from MIT, to lead a radical new direction in warship AI and infrastructure. Her breakthroughs turned the Truman into more than a carrier. It became a thinking, breathing weapon of precision, guided by systems far ahead of their time. She gave everything, nights, her marriage, her health. But in the 11th hour of deployment, she found it a flaw, a hidden instability in the coolant shunt system. It could overheat under stress, causing feedback into the AI's logic core. She brought it to the board. She brought it to Raines. Delay the launch, she said. 1 month, I'll fix it. But delays meant questions. And questions meant threats to funding. You're too close to it, Raines had told her. It's stable enough. The Truman launched on schedule. 2 months later, 3 sailors died in a core overheat off the Libyan coast. The incident was buried under layers of security. The Navy needed a scapegoat, Raines delivered. They said Eleonora had gone rogue, that she'd tampered with her own code, that her obsession had made her unstable. They revoked her clearance, shut her out, canceled her contracts. She disappeared without a trace. Some said she'd moved to Canada. Others said she drowned herself in the bay. She never spoke to anyone again. Until today, back on the bridge. Eleonora stepped up to the console and pressed her hand against the biometric reader. It lit up green. The ship welcomed her. I never left a trace, she said, not even in your deepest audits. My last override was embedded in the maintenance diagnostica program. No one would question because no one ever really looks. But she knew. The ship always knew when I came back online. You've hijacked a U.S. military vessel, Raines said, voice low, trembling with fury. She turned to him. You hijacked it. The moment you let those men die to protect your career. The moment you carved my name out of her steel like it never belonged. A young lieutenant stepped forward. Is any of this true, sir? Raines didn't answer. Ellie's eyes swept the crew. I didn't come to destroy her. I came to wake her up. Because this ship was built with a soul. And you've been piloting her like a weapon without conscience. That ends now. The screen behind her flickered again. Data began to pour across it. Logs, audio recordings, oppressed maintenance reports from years ago. Proof. The whole system was unlocking its buried truth. Line by line, the crew watched in stunned silence as years of hidden shame spilled into the open. I built her to save lives, Eleonora whispered, not to bury mine. Alarms had long since gone silent. No one was shouting, no one scrambling. The USS Truman stood still in the water, not by engine failure, but by design. Its crew, normally a hive of movement, had become quiet sentinels around glowing terminals, watching, reading, processing what the ship was revealing. Rear Admiral Raines remained at the edge of the bridge, eyes locked on the floor as line after line of encrypted logs unspooled across the main screen. Suppressed documents, tampered diagnostics, chain of command emails flagged confidential, not for investigation. His name was all over them. Eleonora watched him from across the deck. There was no satisfaction in her face, only gravity. How long were you planning to keep them in the dark? She asked, her voice barely above the hum of the system. Raines didn't look at her. You don't know what it was like. Back then, I know exactly what it was like. She shot back. I was the one screaming into a void while you played politics with people's lives. He turned now, slowly. You were unraveling. You stopped sleeping. You accused everyone of sabotage. The board was losing faith. I did what I had to do to keep the Truman afloat. No, you did what you had to do to keep yourself afloat. And now you're sinking under the truth. She gestured to the crew. They deserved to know what kind of command they're under. He stepped closer, low and bitter. I saved your career once, Graves, when you lashed out in that meeting, when you threw a goddamn tablet across the table. You think they would have kept you on if I hadn't talked them down? You were brilliant, but you were spiraling. I was furious, she snapped, because I saw the fault lines, and no one else would look. He blinked, a muscle in his jaw tightening. I lost sleep over that decision. I watched those reports come in from the Gulf, and I knew every casualty was a weight on my back. But by then it was too late. If I had admitted fault, the Truman would have been decommissioned, billions down the drain. Congressional hearings, every sailor reassigned. Our enemies would have smelled blood in the water. You buried 3 sailors to protect optics. His voice cracked. I buried you. The words hung in the air like a punch. Silence again. Then a voice broke it from ops. Sir, there's more. Rains turned, chest hollowing out. Callahan looked sick. There's a recording. Audio from the night of the overheat. Internal mic from engineering. Play it, Eleonora said before Rains could respond. Bridge speakers came alive with static. Then, coolant pressure spiking. Run a bypass. It's not holding. We need to cut power. We have orders to maintain protocol. Do not abort. Who gave that order? Admiral. Rains, ma'am. He said it'll stabilize. We just need to ride it out. A low rumble. Metal screeching, shouting, then silence. Eleonora closed her eyes. The crew stared at Rains. Stunned. I didn't know it would go that far, he said, voice low. But you knew enough, she replied. One of the younger officers, a woman barely 30, stepped forward. Sir, is that real? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The truth was already here, flooding the ship like seawater in a hull breach. Later, Rains sat alone in the captain's quarters. Door sealed, lights dimmed. His hands trembled as he poured a drink, something expensive, something old, untouched until tonight. He stared at the liquid, but his mind was elsewhere. 15 years ago, on a rainy tarmac, Eleonora had stood under the wing of a C-130, clutching a manila folder, eyes wild with fury and hope. You're not listening, she'd told him then. But one day, this ship will. He hadn't believed her, not then. He took a drink, then another. Below deck, Eleonora stood in the engine room, the heart of the Truman. The walls hummed around her like a living thing. Her fingers grazed the cold surface of the coolant chamber, now reinforced and stable, the flaw finally corrected. I'm sorry, she whispered to the ship, to the men who died here, to the part of herself she'd buried long ago. Behind her, Callahan entered, hesitantly. The crew, he said, they want to hear more. About what you did, about what happened. She turned, surprised. Why? Because you didn't just build the Truman, he said. You protected her. You loved her, and we didn't know. Eleonora looked away, emotion cracking her expression. For the first time, I never wanted this, not like this. Callahan nodded. But you came back anyway, because I had to. He paused. What happens now? She didn't answer. Not yet. In Washington, a secure line buzzed in the Pentagon. An aide lifted the phone and listened, then turned to the Secretary of the Navy. It's the Truman, she said. We have a situation. The Truman sat silent in the water, a steel giant with her heart reawakened. Hours had passed, but no new orders came. No movement, no threats. Just a quiet that felt like breath being held by the ship, by its crew, by the woman who had come back from the dead to reclaim it. Eleonora stood in the CIC, her eyes scanning systems that once held her fingerprint in every line of code. Technicians hovered nearby, still stunned, still unsure whether to salute her or arrest her. She didn't care either way. What mattered was that she'd made the ship remember. And now, it was time for everyone else to do the same. The main screen lit up again. This time, it displayed an incoming transmission. Pentagon secured. The bridge fell into hushed motion. Callahan looked to Eleonora, then to the command chair. No one moved. Finally, Rains entered. His uniform was still sharp, but the man inside it looked aged by years and a night. He walked slowly, almost cautiously, then nodded at the screen. The line opened. A sharp-faced admiral appeared. USS Truman, this is Admiral Keene, Joint Naval Command. Your systems have been compromised. Identify who is in control of your vessel. Eleonora stepped forward, calm and composed. I am, she said. Dr. Eleonora Graves, lead engineer of the Truman Project, and the person whose work you erased. There was a pause on the line. You're not authorized to speak on behalf of this ship. I never stopped speaking for her, she said. You just weren't listening. Behind her, the crew stood still, eyes flicking between the monitor and the woman who had rewritten their understanding of everything. Admiral Keene's eyes narrowed. This is a federal offense. Do you have any idea what kind of storm you've stepped into? Eleonora leaned forward. I didn't step into it. I was the storm 15 years ago. You drowned me in red tape and silence. I've spent every day since learning how to bring the truth to the surface without being shot on sight. And now it's done. The ship has already broadcast the sealed logs to the press. Every flaw you buried, every lie, every death you tried to scrub. The Truman told them all. Keen's face hardened. What do you want? Eleonora didn't smile. Legacy, he scoffed. You think you can erase 15 years of classified protocol with one stunt? She stepped aside, revealing Callahan and the bridge crew standing behind her. I didn't do it alone, she said. They're with me. One by one, heads nodded, quiet but firm. Engineers, gunners, radar techs, not a mutiny, a reckoning. Raines stepped beside her. The bridge went still. I failed her, he said simply, and I failed this ship. What she's done here, what she's uncovered, it isn't sabotage, it's salvation. On the screen, Keen said nothing. His expression cracked barely. Then the transmission ended. 2 days later, the Truman returned to port under tight Navy escort. No one attempted to seize control. No orders to detain. The crew cameras lined the docks. News had broken like wildfire. The cover-up, the deaths, the betrayal of a whistleblower who had built something too powerful to control. Eleonora stood at the edge of the deck, watching the coast. Callahan came. To her side. They want to talk to you, he said. Congress, investigators, journalists. She didn't move. I didn't do it for them. I know, but they need to hear it. She turned finally. So do you. 1 week later, in a televised hearing broadcast around the world, Dr. Eleonora Graves took the stand. She wore a navy blue blazer, plain slacks, and no makeup. Her hair was back in a low knot. Her voice was even unwavering. I was not broken, she said. I was ignored. She told them everything. The design flaw, the boardroom arguments, the pressure to deploy early, the lives lost, the attempt to erase her from the record, and finally, the reason she came back. This ship wasn't just metal. It wasn't just weapons. It was people. Systems made of ideas. Of care, of sweat. You can call it engineering, but I called it love. And you took that love and turned it into silence. She paused. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm asking for memory. Let the people who died be remembered. Let the truth exist in the light. The room stayed quiet long after she finished. Raines gave his testimony to He didn't beg for forgiveness. He accepted full responsibility. Offered to resign. The panel accepted. The Truman was assigned a new directive, one that included public transparency protocols and memorials to the fallen. And in the ship's mainframe, beneath all the code and diagnostics, one thing was restored. A name. Dr. Eleonora Graves. Systems architect, visionary, survivor. 3 months later, on a clear morning with calm waters, the Truman launched again. Eleonora stood at the dock not as a prisoner, not as a myth, but as a guest of honor. She didn't board. Her part was done. Callahan saluted from the deck. She nodded back. And then, she walked away. Not broken, not erased, but whole. If that story hit you like it hit us, don't scroll just yet. Tap like if you believe truth always finds a way. Subscribe for more powerful cinematic stories based on real emotion and raw justice. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it, because sometimes the strongest voice is the one they tried to silence.